Sections 31 and 32 of How to Sing. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Ruth Golding. How to Sing by Lily Lehmann. Translated by Richard Aldrich. Section 31. Velocity. Singers, male and female, who are lacking velocity and the power of trilling, seem to me like horses without tails. Both of these things belong to the art of song, and are inseparable from it. It is a matter of indifference whether the singer has to use them or not, he must be able to. The teacher who neither teaches nor can teach them to his pupils is a bad teacher. The pupil who, notwithstanding the urgent warnings of his teacher, neglects the exercises that can help him to acquire them and fails to perfect himself in them, is a bungler. There is no excuse for it but lack of talent or laziness, and neither has any place in the higher walks of art. To give the voice velocity, practice first slowly, then faster and faster, figures of 5, 6, 7, and 8 notes, etc., upward and downward. If one has well mastered the great slow scale with the nasal connection, skill in singing rapid passages will be developed quite of itself, because they both rest on the same foundation, and without the preliminary practice can never be understood. Put the palate into the nasal position, the larynx upon A. Attack the lowest tone of the figure with the thought of the highest. Force the breath as it streams very vigorously forth from the larynx toward the nose, but allow the head current entire freedom, without entirely doing away with the nasal quality, and then run up the scale with great firmness. In descending, keep the form of the highest tone, even if there should be 8 to 12 tones in the passage, adjusting E and A very close to each other, so that the scale slides down not a pair of stairs, but a smooth track, the highest tone affording, as it were, a guarantee that on the way there shall be no impediment or sudden drop. The resonance form, kept firm and tense, must, by means of the elasticity of the organs, adapt itself with the utmost freedom to the thought of every tone, and with it to the breath. The pressure of the breath against the chest must not be diminished, but must be unceasing. To me, it is always as if the pitch of the highest tone were already contained in the lowest, so strongly concentrated upon the whole figure are my thoughts at the attack of a single tone. By means of E, A, Oo, larynx, tongue, and palatal position on the lowest tone are in such a position that the vibrations of breath for the highest tones are already finding admission into the head cavities. The higher the vocal figures go, the more breath they need, the less can the breath and the organs be pressed. The higher they are, the more breath must stream forth from the epiglottis. Therefore the A and the thought of E, which keep the passages to the head open. But because there is a limit to the scope of the movement of larynx and tongue, and they cannot rise higher and higher with a figure that often reaches to an immense height, the singer must resort to the aid of the auxiliary vowel oo, in order to lower the larynx and so make room for the breath. A run or any other figure must never sound thus, ah ha 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 ha, but must be nasally modified above and tied. And because the breath must flow out unceasingly in a powerful stream from the vocal cords, an H can only be put in beneath, which makes us sure of this powerful streaming out of the breath, and helps only the branch stream of breath into the cavities of the head. Often singers hold the breath, concentrated on the nasal form, firmly on the lowest tone of a figure, and, without interrupting this nasal form or the head tones, that is, the breath vibrating in the head cavities, finish the figure alone. When this happens, the muscular contractions of the throat, tongue, and palate are very strong. L'Oiselet, Chopin Viardot. The turn, too, is based on the consistent connection of the tonal figure with the nasal quality, which is obtained by pronouncing the oo toward the nose, by means of which the larynx is made pliable. The y ensures the connection of all vowels to one another. It is the mobile hinge of the closed form. Every vowel is ready to help, for ascending a and e, for descending oo. In the closed form they accomplish the change of form quickly and elastically, without ever relaxing it entirely. With combined strength, especially with the cooperation of one or the other organ, numberless nuances may be attained through conscious practice. In the piano, in the forte, in mezza di voce, in darker or lighter coloring, in the velocity or breadth of the form, with one breath. In such manner every one can attain velocity, and if he is apt, apply it in serious song. How often have I heard the ha 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 ha, etc., a wretched tumbling down of different tones, instead of a smooth decoration of the cantilena. Singers generally disregard it because no one can do it any more, and yet even today it is of the greatest importance. See Tristan und Isolde. The situation is quite the same in regard to the appoggiatura. In this the resonance is made nasal, and the flexibility of the larynx, which without changing the resonance moves quickly up and down, accomplishes the task alone. Here, too, it can almost be imagined that the thought alone is enough, for the connection of the two tones cannot be too close, but this must be practised and done consciously. Adelaide by Beethoven. Abendlüftchen im zarten Laube flüstern. End of section 31. Section 32. Trill. There still remains the trill, which is best practised in the beginning as follows, always from the upper note to the lower one. A and E are placed very closely against each other, nearly pinching, and held tight, the larynx kept as stiff as possible and placed high. Both tones are connected as closely, as heavily as possible, upward nasally, downward on the larynx, for which the y again is admirably suited. They must be attacked as high as possible, and very strongly connected with the chest. The trill exercise must be practised almost as a scream. The upper note must always be strongly accented. The exercise is practised with an even strength, without decrescendo to the end. The breath pressure acts more and more strongly, uninterruptedly to the finish. Trill exercises must be performed with great energy, on the whole compass of the voice. They form an exception to the rule, in so far that in them more is given to the throat to do, always, however, under the control of the chest, than in other exercises. That relates, however, to the muscles. The breath vibrates above the larynx, but does not stick in it, consequently this is not dangerous. It is really a gymnastic exercise for the muscles. The exercise is practised first on 2 half, then on 2 whole tones of the same key, as given above, advancing by semitones twice a day on the entire compass of the voice. It is exhausting because it requires great energy, but for the same reason it gives strength. Practice it first as slowly and vigorously as the strength of the throat allows, then faster and faster, till one day the trill unexpectedly appears. With some energy and industry, good results should be reached in from 6 to 8 weeks, and the larynx should take on the habit of performing its function by itself. This function gradually becomes a habit, so that it seems as if only one tone were attacked and held, and as if the second tone simply vibrated with it. As a matter of fact, the larynx will have been so practised in the minute upward and downward motion that the singer is aware only of the vibrations of the breath that lie above it, while he remains mindful all the time only of the pitch of the upper note. One has the feeling, then, as of singing or holding only the lower tone, which must be placed very high, while the upper one vibrates with it simply through the habitude of the accentuation. The union of the two then comes to the singer's consciousness as if he were singing the lower note somewhat too high, halfway toward the upper one. This is only an aural delusion produced by the high vibrations. But the trill, when fully mastered, should always be begun, as in the exercise, on the upper note. Every voice must master the trill after a period, longer or shorter, of proper practice. Stiff, strong voices master it sooner than small, weak ones. I expended certainly 10 years upon improving it, because as a young girl I had so very little strength, although my voice was very flexible in executing all sorts of rapid passages. To be able to use it anywhere, of course, requires a long time and much practice. For this reason, it is a good plan to practice it on syllables with different vowels, such as can all be supported on E and A, and on words as soon as the understanding needed for this is in some degree assured. If the larynx has acquired the habit properly, the trill can be carried on into a piano and pianissimo, and prolonged almost without end with crescendi and decrescendi, as the old Italians used to do, and as all Germans do who have learned anything. Section 32.